Hello, everyone. Hello. I want to welcome you to today's class. And what I want to say first, and thank you, Ursula, for pointing that out to me this afternoon. For the past 2 days, I have not been feeling well. I should say, okay, it's kind of weird sensation because I have been feeling well energetically, emotionally during my practice. Everything is great. And then minutes later, I feel a sensation like everything inside of me shaking. Every cell in my body is trembling. And like I have an agitation that's internal. I'm looking at my skin. I'm not shaking as if I drank too much. I have drank, I don't know, a jug of coffee, a gallon of coffee. Everything inside of me is shaking. And of course, me doing the Dantian work and everything else, I'm thinking that something internal in me is wrong. So I start doing my query. I have my big flashlight. I'm looking inside of me for whatever emotional thing that I'm not processing, whatever attack that may be happening to me from the archon, and I'm not seeing anything. I'm like, I don't know what the hell this is. And today, this morning, again, the same thing happened. I went out to go to the grocery store. I came back, the same thing. I was like, what's going on? And Ursula pointed out to me that there are some major solar flares since yesterday. And because I haven't had this in over a year, all of a sudden it flashed back. That's what it feels like energetically when a solar flare is actually blasting through the earth. There are several M-class solar flares that are bombarding the earth right now. And the sensation, the same way electrically, if you have satellite, any kind of charge of proton and photon from the sun or plasma will cause electrical malfunction. We also are wired electrically. So what I was feeling basically was a plasma blast passing through my body. And I literally, it felt like I was shaking internally, like everything inside of me was trembling and shaking, and I couldn't control it. It's a very unusual sensation. Sometimes it causes sleep disturbance. Thank God for me this time it was not sleep disturbance. Sometimes it's headaches or even seeing spots or seeing when we were going to the solar reversal, the solar cycle reversal, solar max, it was a sensation in the morning. You know how when you're looking at the sun and the sun is very hot on a road, and then you're beginning to see a distortion, like a wave. Like I'm getting dressed, in the morning, I'm washing my face. All of a sudden, everything around me changes and starts waving. That's also, or spots, like you're seeing spots. That's connected to solar flares. I just wanted to bring that up in the event that you have similar sensations. I just want to alert you to that fact, okay? And there's nothing we can do about it. We can only ask the sun to, because what the sun is doing, it's trying to dislodge in our body. It's like the demolition crew, dislodge in our body what no longer serves. So the only thing you can do is to take a deep breath when you're feeling this, and don't do any exercise, don't do any strenuous thing. That this is not the time to shovel snow and do strenuous exercise. This is a time for you to sit down, drink a hot cup of tea, relax, and then ask the sun to, because it can cause nervous malfunction, heart malfunction, breathing malfunction, because again, all these things are electrical. Your autonomous nervous system can be disrupted by this. So the idea is to take deep breath and ask the sun to dislodge from you what is no longer serving you. Just ask the sun to remove it, okay? So what I want to talk to you about today, aside from this, I want to bring to your attention, and I've been going over the recordings of the Tibetan Book of the Dead that I had sent out to all of you. And I found the actual companion book that Richard Gere in that audio recording is reading. It is this book. It's all the texts that he's reading are coming from this book. I wanted to point it out to all of you. It's $14 on Amazon, $15. It's worth it because all of the other text we have, it's a different translation. It's not the same reading. But since I'm so familiar with the audio, I've listened to the audio 5 or 6 times. This is my 6th reiteration. I wanted to get the companion book so that I could actually read it and while listening to the audio. So it might help you penetrate the book better because it's going very deep for me right now. Okay. So I want to talk a little bit about some of the insights that I've gotten, more specifically as it relates to what is the state of Baldo. Tibetan Book of the Dead translates to Baldo Todol, which is the great liberation through hearing in the intermediate state. Baldo actually means an intermediate state that exists between 2 things. It could be a transition between physical state, like gas becoming liquid and becoming solid, or it could be us transitioning from being alive to being dead, or it could be a state of doubt, of changing your mind about something, or changing, figuring out emotion. It is basically a gap or an intermediate state between one way of perceiving reality and a different way, and an emerging way. So the Baldo is a gap or intermediate state about anything. The Tibetan Book of the Dead recognizes 6 different Baldo. There's the Baldo of rebirth. There's the Baldo of meditation or samadhi. There's the Baldo of dreaming. There is the Baldo of dharmata, which is the Baldo that happened after you transition for the 49 days. You're moving through this transitional state. And then there is the Baldo of there's the Baldo of becoming, and all of these various states of Baldo. And the book, although it's called the Baldo Todol, and it's a transition that happens between 2 states, 2 emotional states, mental states, etc. It's that gap, it's that intermediate state. It is also, it's not just about death and rebirth. It's not about samsara, which is the wheel of death and rebirth. It's about the transition, the state and transition, and what that state means, how potent the state is, how much it can actually help you liberate. Because at any point during the Baldo, any Baldo that you're going through, it could shift you dramatically and provide you with what they call Dharmakaya, which is enlightenment. Because the way the book begins, it describes the first state of Baldo, which is when somebody is about to transition, and what position you should put the person in. If you are the friend or the guru that's trying to guide them in the afterlife, you want to remind them of certain things, of what they're going to experience, so that they can make their transition, and not only make that transition, but recognize the opportunity that exists in Baldo, in the intermediate state, for them to find enlightenment, to find what they call Dharmakaya, which is enlightenment. And they talk about the Baldo state, the dying state, the Baldo of the moment before death. They talk about how your body begins to shut down, where the elements, like the earth element goes into water, the water goes into fire, and the fire goes into the air. And at the end of it, your body begins to shut down. And as that is happening, they tell you to whisper multiple times in the ear of the person who's dying while you lay them down on their right side with their left ear up, and you begin to whisper to them over and you get the family out. There should be nobody crying while this is happening, because it's going to confuse the consciousness that's trying, or the mind of the person that's trying to transition, because they will want to remain to support their family. They will not go into the luminosity. So what you do is that you tell them, son, so and so and so, a son of or daughter of a noble family, you're dying. You're transitioning and you're going through the state, blah, 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 blah. This is what's happening to your body. You're going to experience now this brilliant luminosity. I'm paraphrasing. The recording, you can follow all the wordings on there. And if you have the book, you can read them through. You're going to experience, this is what you're going to experience. You're going to experience this, you're going to experience that. And there is this luminosity. And what this luminosity is, it's what they call dharmata. What is dharmata? It's the true state of everything that exists, which is that fundamentally at the quantum field, at the foundation of everything, at the essence of being, there exists an indivisible pair, okay? And that pair is made up of what they call the emptiness and the luminosity. The emptiness and form. That form ends in emptiness, emptiness ends in form. That the two of them are indivisible. And if you can recognize that, and the luminosity that everyone that's dying experience, and they talk a great detail about when the breath ceased. And if you're holding their artery, their vein will still be pulsating. But when their breath ceases and their vein is still pumping, this is when you start reading. And you tell them, so and so, sons of a noble family, you're dying. And this is what's happening to your body, blah, blah. Now you're experiencing dharmata, the light in its pure essence. And what you need to recognize at that very moment is that luminosity, that light that you're experiencing is you. That's all you need to recognize. And the way they describe the book, they describe the book for average people, for the person of an average spiritual achievement. They said people who are already very advanced will not need all of this. But if you're an average person on the planet and you guide them correctly through the step that described in the Bardo Todol, in the Great Liberation Through Hearing, you are going to help them, and they will typically awake. And they will recognize, and all you need to do is to acknowledge, instead of saying the light is God, the light is love, the light is my family, my deceased parents who came in, my father, the angels. Basically, if you keep seeing it as not you, you don't pass the test. You fail. You have to go to the other 49 days, and every day there will be another opportunity. But the opportunity on the first day is very potent. It's instantaneous. By the second day, it gets more confusing. By the third day, it's so on and so forth. And once you pass the 7th day and you get to the 8th day, it becomes much more complicated. It becomes much more terrifying, because at that moment, what they call the Lord Mara, or the Lord of Death, which is basically in Buddhism what they call the 5 poisons. Those are 5 lower emotions that has derailed the development of humanity. They call them also sometimes the 5 families, because to each of these lower emotion is connected a higher virtue and a Buddha. The first the first poison is desire, or what they call sometimes other emotion connected to it is selfish desire, avarice, and craving. It's a craving or bottomless pit of desire that nothing can satisfy. Anybody that's in that state of poison, all the desire is to accumulate, and the more they get and the more they accumulate, the more they are hungry. They're never satisfied. The craving never ends. Anger, which is connected to ill will, aversion, and resentment, hatred. The third poison is ignorance, which is connected to delusion. And as I'm saying this, you can think of the state of the world right now. Think of all the people who have this selfish desire from the first poison, who are craving, who are trying to fill their pocket with as much physical thing as possible. Corporation, individuals, friends, family members that you know, people who hate for no reason, that are projecting ill will and resentment toward others. People who are, the third poison is ignorance or delusion. So many people are delusional right now about so many things. And I love when I'm talking to many light workers and many people online, or when I'm talking to them personally. I've done a lot of research on this, and I know what I'm talking about. I know exactly what's going on. No one knows exactly what's going on, not even I. Because everything is in flux and bubbling in front of me. I don't have sometimes a clue, because what I thought I knew is changing right before my eyes. Every time I hear somebody say, I know exactly what's going on, they're delusional. It's the third poison. It's ignorance. There's an old French proverb that says, how does I'm trying to translate it. It's better to know that you don't know than to think that you know. Bottom line. Because if you think you don't know, you're prepared to learn. But when you think, false knowledge is worse than ignorance. That's the actual translation. Of course, there is pride, and that particular poison is connected to arrogance and conceit. When you think you know and you're so full of it and your head is shaking with how much you understand and how content you are with your knowledge and how solid you are, and when in fact that in itself is one of the greatest sin. And of course, the last poison is what they call jealousy, the 5-1, and jealousy brings about doubt and envy and the desire to get what someone else has, and these poisons are actually and they're connected. Of course, there's high emotion connected to them, and they're Buddhas. So when you pass the 7th day, the experience that you end up having, how these emotions touch in your life while you were alive, will be played out now in your mind. Because once you transition and you're in the mata state, you're now in transition, you are disembodied now, you can travel everywhere. It's a state of consciousness where sounds and colors are extremely strong and extremely vivid. And the pictures and the imagery that's created around you are extremely convincing. So by the 8th day, you begin to experience what they call the malevolent deities, which are basically demons. But the demons and the version that you experience and the degree to you see them, whether they are tall as the sky and they start talking to you with voices that sound like thunderclaps, and they are multiple head, and they are bloodthirsty, they are ripping people apart, and they're all of these experiences. The book is quick when if you're guiding the person who's experiencing this, the soul who's experiencing this, you have to tell them what you're experiencing right now is a projection of your mind. It's an illusion. And if you can recognize, and there's a term in there that they keep repeating over and over again in the recording and in the book. They said, what you are when you get to the part of the malevolent deities, who you are, right? Who you are in truth is a mental body of unconscious tendencies. You're just, and your mental body of unconscious tendency on emptiness. Your vessel that you think is your physical body is actually at its root a mental body of unconscious tendencies that's floating in emptiness. At the root and the essence of who we are. I'm repeating it again, and I'm doing this so that you understand it. Who we really are at the very foundation and root is nothing more than mental body of unconscious tendencies floating on emptiness. And therefore, everything that we're experiencing, even now in 3D, no matter how much we think of it as being threatening and everything else, and the book goes on to saying, particularly as it relates to the demons, they said, even if the demon rips you in half and try to kill you, you cannot die because you're a mental body of unconscious tendency on emptiness. And the demon is emptiness. It's an illusion. And emptiness cannot harm emptiness. And the moment you get this, the illusion disappears. What was a demon as tall as the cloud transformed now into rose petal and drops down upon you. And right behind it is a Buddha that shows up and invites you into the Dharmakaya, which is the state of enlightenment. I wanna bring this up because I want you to understand that we are being challenged by event, situation, conditions that are quite extraordinary. And in some ways, the transition from 3D reality, which is about survival, and survival is predicated on the belief that the outside is malevolent and is trying to kill you. And you have to find a way through your cunning to survive. And somehow, we are transitioning from that belief system that has governed us in 3D for several thousands of years, 100,000 of years. We have now to transition from there, not only into 4D, but into 5D. Although the bridge to the new earth, the tunnel that's going to take us, is a frequency of truth, authenticity, and transparency. The actual landscape of the new earth and frequency and vibration is not composed of these higher emotions. It's made up of something else. And every once in a while, when I go into this emptiness and enter the Dharmakaya and allow the Dharmakaya and the state of enlightenment to take me over, I can feel that landscape every once in a while. And what I can say to you, what it resembles, it's complex, but what the things I'm grasping onto right now, and there's probably more behind it, is a perpetually renewal of hope. I'm picking up a sense of unceasing hope, a state of like where everyone and everything that exists in that realm is about hope. No menacing, no survival. Everything is connected to hope. And that hope, that power is extraordinary. As an aside, actually, I'm just remembering right now, as I said this, I don't know if any of you saw the movie The Lord of the Ring. In the last installment of this, where Lady Galadriel fought, she's the highest of all the elf. They call her the Lady of Light. I can send you all a clip of her doing this, where she went to rescue Gandalf, the old sorcerer, in the lair of the of the enemy, the Dark One. And as she rescued him, they tried to attack her. And she was able to overcome, not only overcome, but she cast out the Dark Lord out. And that scene is very potent and very powerful. But Lady Galadriel also has a ring of power. But her ring is connected to hope. That's her power. Her ring, the ring of power that she has, is connected to hope. And she's the most powerful of all the elves, and she has a will that's unbendable, and she is the embodiment of light, and she is Galadriel. And so it's just flashed into my mind as I'm saying this. And it's a good, because she said some very potent thing. When the Dark Lord was, she had two other companions that were also light bearers who couldn't stand the power of the Dark One. And she got up and she cast him out. She cast him out with all the hope that she was holding. Another also belief system in Buddhism that there are 5 realms. There's the realm of hell, the 3 lower realm, the realm of the hungry ghosts, the realm of animals, the realm of the jealous god, the realm of the god, and the the realm of human. So the out of all these realms, it's interesting to notice that when you're the realm of the god, which is the highest one that you can attain, that you would hope to get into, they describe it as a place where you're perpetually in hope. They don't use exactly the same words. I'm not remembering exactly how to describe it, but the description of the realm of the gods is similar to this, where there is a realm where the gods are, and they exist. It's when you feel that you're, in fact, when you're getting ready to be reborn, when you're the battle of becoming, you're about to be reborn because you failed all the various opportunities and invitation into the luminosity, and there are multiple of them, even in the malevolent deity experiences, that every day an opportunity gets presented itself, and if you don't get it and you keep not getting it, eventually you have to reincarnate. And when before it happens, they are trying to provide you, even in the moment of rebirth, if you're seeing your mother's womb and you're about to reincarnate, they keep telling you, you can close the womb, you can still find the luminosity. There's still opportunities, even at the last minute. But the one thing that they don't discourage you to do, they said in the text described that if you're seeing the realm of the god, go. It's the highest realm you can get incarnated into. Go. All the other realm, they're trying to show you how to find Dhammakaya or enlightenment. Whereas if you can get connected to the realm of the gods, they're telling you to go, because the experience will be favorable for you. So it's important for us that as I'm describing this, and I know I've talked about this before, but I hope I'm bringing to you today a different perspective, a different understanding, that what we're trying to do is to find a way to, because what we're experiencing right now, the transition with all of the things that are happening in the planet right now, this is the parallel. I've described what the Bardo is in a short synopsis. I'm doing a terrible job, but to the best of my ability, short synopsis. What we're experiencing collectively right now on Earth is a Bardo. We're transitioning, we're in an intermediate state between 3D and 5D. And more specifically right now, the planet is experiencing the passage in the Bardo that describes the benevolent deities. Because the first 7 days have already passed. All the kind, loving invitation into the light, into enlightenment that were voluntary, humanity has failed to recognize them. Right now, the lesson is by the poison. Okay? It's the karma that was created by the poison that humanity collectively failed to learn, to emancipate into the higher power of the desire, the higher power of the jealousy, the higher power of all of the poison, the higher octave. And so because we fail, right now we're experiencing the demons, basically, whether the demon is a snowstorm or wildfire or flood or tsunami or a disease, a pathogen, a pandemic, whatever it is, we're experiencing now the demons. And but if you understand the book correctly, the demon is a means for you to find the luminosity. It is not the way we understand karma in the West to be, as a punishment. Rather, it is an opportunity for you to learn something, and the moment you understand it and you learn it, the illusion breaks away. It becomes emptiness. Any questions, any comments?
Pierre, what comes to my mind is that video that you sent us about the Dakinis.
Yes.
There is a section there when one of the gurus, I forget which one right now, he talks about how he basically these scary gods, he actually says that they are also Dakinis.
Yep.
And they are scary, but they are also compassionate.
Yep.
So it's like, it's trying to teach us something, but there is a compassion behind it.
Yep.
So to your point, is as we're trying to learn and pray, as you've been guiding us, that there will be the support.
Yep.
Not only the lessons, but also the support and the compassion. If you're only willing to, like you say, sometimes humble yourself and ask.
Yep.
Because interesting enough, there seems to be also resistance to pray, asking for mercy.
Yep.
I see that among light community. I've had that comments from my friends, which surprised me because I didn't expect that. And so and it's a funny thing because it is a natural thing to ask for help with something that's beyond us, which is clearly beyond us. But interesting enough, there seems to be this fake. It's a Maya, this resistance to that.
It's the sin of pride. They are too prideful. That's the poison of pride. These individuals are too prideful to ask for help.
Yeah, and in a way, it's counterintuitive because it's like the native people, they understand that it's obviously if I didn't have rain for 6 months and I cannot create it, then I need to ask for help. It's a natural thing. It's totally natural thing. But we have just and there's a point to this I'm trying to make, because we just got so far away from what's natural, and to the fact that to ask for help, for mercy, ask for help from higher deities, and for that matter, the benevolence of the universe, right?
Mhm, mhm.
It's all kind of symptoms of the same issue, that we've gone so far off and disconnected, and what will be a natural thing to do for us is hard, almost impossible.
Yeah,
But in truth, it's a completely natural thing, and I'm just kind of thank you for this video again, and it's kind of all this connecting, it's connecting the dots for me, how this is a natural thing to ask for that, for higher help. And then if I go one step further, how natural it is to know that you're being actually supported by the morphogenic field, and it's loving and supportive,
mm,
because it's kind of continuation of that as well.
yep.
With practice, we can reconnect with that understanding. I'm also finding.
Thank you, Ursula. As a matter of fact, thank you for bringing the Dakini. As a matter of fact, the reason the Dakinis, for those who don't know, the Dakinis are actually messengers of emptiness. They are like angels in Buddhism, and they are female messengers of emptiness. But they are not necessarily completely always benevolent. They manifest in our life, and there are five main ones, and they are connected to the five families and the five poison and the five ways to overcome the poison, are completely embodied in the Dakinis. And the Dakinis are connected to five elements, of course: earth, water, fire, air, and space. And it's the same, they're connected to the five elements. Everything is intricately connected. You're completely intuitively right that, and the way in the text of the Tibetan Book of the Dead, they talk about the benevolent deities. They talk about their compassion as well. They call the experience that they provide as compassionate anger. They come in with great compassion. So the experience is terrifying, but it's because we have refused to learn any other way.
And he said, I'm sorry to interrupt you. He said, like, sometimes gentle ways we don't listen.
That's right.
And that if you don't listen to gentle ways, that's when they come in.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is what's happening in the planet right now. We're experiencing things that are extraordinary. Extraordinary. The past 2 years alone, the amount, even before that it happened. And for somebody like me, who's a seer, who's able to perceive and know and perceive so many things, it is actually terrifying because I know what's coming. And I only share certain things only in this forum. And there are certain things I don't send email, because when I send in my list, my group email, every time I bring something to the forefront of what's going to happen, or I talk about the archon, I have 2 or 3 people who unsubscribe because they're too scared about, they don't want to hear it. They're being like the ostrich. They don't want to hear it. And so and to that point, I'm bringing to your awareness. I just shared the video only with Marjorie and Georgie today, yesterday actually. And it's about a new virus. And it's not Omicron. And I knew when I saw Omicron and how less virulent it was and all that, I knew it was not the pathogen that I saw when I channeled the Galactic Region Council, because that pathogen was much more virulent. Right now, out of 1, they just identify another bat mutation. It's called neocon, and it's a mutation of SARS and some of the virus together that they found in bat, and they're saying it's 1 mutation away from jumping into human. Literally a matter of a week or a month before it happens. And so And it's so virulent that it will probably wipe out, according to the studies that are being done now by China and Russia and the WHO, the World Health Organization. They are saying now, so far, they're doing more studies. So far, they think it's 30%. It will wipe out, if it happens, it would wipe out 30% of the Earth population. Now, having said this, I don't want you to start panicking. Having said this, the touchdown of any of these things doesn't have to be catastrophic like this. This is the worst case scenario. I actually personally believe, from what I channel, that it's going to happen. This is a future that's already decided. But like the tsunami, if enough of us can overcome the sin of pride and self-importance and ask for forgiveness from God and ask for mercy, we will overcome this. So I think that's what I saw, and that's what because I saw, and when I spoke to Lord George, who was also a seer, he had a dream where he saw huge human die-off, and he was so shocked. And I said, I think that's what we both saw. And he said, I think you're right. And again, if enough of us pray for mercy and ask for mercy, the mercy will be presented to us. Because through the prayer of overcoming the sin of pride, which is one of the poison, we now begin to humble ourselves to a point where we allow the lesson to be learned, which is to remove the ego and surrender ourselves into the emptiness and the luminosity, higher power that will lead us into the emptiness and the indivisible emptiness and luminosity. Any questions, any comments?
Did you, Pierre, get a sense? I didn't. Is that pathogen potentially a variation of what we have, or something new?
It's a variation. It's a combination. It's still in bats. It's a combination of. I don't remember the other disease. I know it's SARS and it's something else.
Right, so it's not exactly like this one, but
no. It's a combination of two things that were two separate things that are combined, and they said that it's one mutation away. So the internationally, it was an Indian program I was watching, and the anchor kept asking for the rest of the world and scientists too. That information should be distributed worldwide. We should be ready. We've already failed before. We should, in other words, somebody should be already sequencing, the genome. We should be ready.
Yeah. Are they not saying that?
Right now, the information is limited to China. It's funny. 2 years ago, it came out of Wuhan, and it came out of China, and when they revealed it, it was too late. It was already spread.
Right.
So when I don't want to be a conspiracy theory and be suspicious, but I had a conversation with somebody very important in November who had told me that they were in a meeting with several people in the US, including a lot of doctors and virologists, about a potential other pathogen coming out of China. And they were trying to find solution to overcome this. This was in November of last year.
Right. But they don't really know if it's just an accidental or not.
We don't know if the virus is.
Doesn't matter.
Right now, the report is saying that the scientists in Wuhan have identified this and have sent the information to the World Health Organization. That's it. That's the extent of the report.
Right. It could be mutation too.
I don't know. What I'm saying is that I'm giving you the other circumstances and the other stuff. My perception from what I saw when I connected with the Galactic Region Council in November was that what the pathogen that I saw was okay. I don't want to say this, but that's the worst case scenario because I don't want you all to panic. All the people on Patreon or YouTube or listening to me, I don't want you to panic. But what I saw was 1/3 of the human population was wiped out. And the 30% rate of death that they are talking about from this pathogen will do that.
Right. But that was before you brought this new information about the mantras and the praying, all that other stuff.
Yes, yes. But if we're doing all this prayer, if enough people, and it shouldn't be just us, it should be all around the world.
Yes.
Do you understand? For something like that's this big, that's a planetary karma to be overcome, the sin of pride that we have to think that we have a stick up our butt and we think we know better, we should all be humbly praying and asking for mercy.
Right. Yes.
And if we're able to do this, the touchdown, it will happen, but the touchdown will be soft.
Right. Right. Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else? Anybody experience anything related to the solar flare that I spoke about a little bit earlier? The unease, the agitation?
I wanted you to be aware, Pierre. I don't know if you had read it, but I had sent you something in French, and they were talking about the alignment that is happening between January the 25th up until February the 5th.
The Mercury retrograde?
The retrograde, yes. But they also talk about that there will be a lot of solar flare and all the seism that is happening all over the world. It's part of that. It's also an adjustment that is going on. And lately, there's been a lot of things all over the world happening. Yesterday, I heard there was a 5.9 in Trinidad. So I think all these things, it's of course it's affecting the earth, but it's also affecting us. That is living in that womb in Gaia. So I just wanted you to be aware of that. I don't know. I sent it to you, but I don't know if you had a chance to read it.
I haven't read it yet because I'm aware of the retrograde. But at Marjorie, what you're pointing out too is exactly what I was saying, is that these events are so big and so extraordinary that it's beyond our pay grade to control. This is where you have to realize that it's your prayer, your Reiki, your whatever it is that you're doing as a healer, it's not enough. This is when you kneel down and you pray to a higher power and you say, help me.
Exactly.
And the lesson that the Dakini are trying to teach us, all 5 elements, are now trying to teach, because they all have risen up: water, fire, earth, air. We have all these hurricanes and all the storm, and space. All of them have awakened. And the lesson they're trying to teach us is that we have to, our ego have to step down and we have to surrender. There's so many ignorant, so many people who have these fake belief, and they are convinced, completely brainwashed and convinced that they are in the right. There are so many. I mean, I could go on. I could break down the list of the poison to talk about how in the world right now, as we walk, we know, you and I know people who exist in that space, and some of us are in that space emotionally, where we believe we know, we've done the research, and we have all the information. Truth, although the bridge to the new earth is truth, authenticity, and transparency, that truth is a spectrum of knowledge, an infinite spectrum of knowledge. When you believe one fixed information is that truth, you are completely in the wrong. It's coming out of pure ignorance. Because if you knew anything about truth, you would have understood that it is a vast and immense and infinite spectrum of knowing. And what you think you know today, at this moment, is what you're trying to hold in time, in space-time, a fragment of infinity.
Yep. Exactly.
So when I hear people say things like this, I know what I'm saying. I have all the information. I have all the background. I don't respond. Although sometimes, you don't know, so many times this week, things that I've seen people posted that I wanted to jump in and start writing stuff. In one instance, I started typing and I went, delete. Don't start this. Don't start this. It's a waste of time. These people already made their mind. They're not going to listen to you. And more to the point, why do you want to engage in this? You're going to go back and forth ad infinitum. It's a waste of energy. The Dakinis will teach them. When the Dakinis become dark, they call them the Haruku. The Harukus or the demons. And that's what the planet is experiencing right now. All the earth changes, the shaking, the tsunami, the earthquake, the volcanoes, all of it. We are transitioning from 3D to 4D to 5D. We're jumping 2 dimensions. And because we're doing this, we'll experience all the changes and all the transformation. Yes, anybody else?
Can you hear me, Pierre?
Yes, I can.
Well, what I am experiencing out here, I've been trying to show it to you all at the oasis of Mora, which I'm actually trying to enjoy, is a pulsing through the earth and the water of the earth chakra. You know, you were mentioning about the solar flare. It's and you know, I appreciate what you said, because I was almost so wiped out I couldn't move, you know. But what I found, on a happy note, so to speak, not saying that this is a point of knowledge, but a friend mentioned Göbekli Tepe, 2 friends, and of all things, I found on Netflix the series called The Gifted, where a woman paints of things, of symbols she's seen since her childhood. And as you know, that's what happened to me. I've had ongoing dreams since my childhood of being led. And I know I am here, such as it is, it's very rugged. And you know, that is what it is. It's like an oozing of light in the tops of the palm trees and under the earth. So it's just about all I can do, is, you know, to keep grounding it and being with it, which is wonderful. And it's so remote that there really hardly is anybody here. So oddly enough, or appropriate, the spirit guides been having a lot of prophetic dreams, including Dr. Savarese came and visited me, my mentor friend who died New Year's Eve, and then dreamed showing me what's next in terms of just simple, very simple. It's so simple, it's almost overwhelming. So I'm with you about how rapid it's happening. I mean, I guess I lived in an oasis before, because I seem to recognize what's happening at this ancient site of the oracle. They know this oasis has been here at least for 12,000 years with visitors of the Kauia. And for some reason, it's being respected by the national park. So that's encouraging. I'm not in a big city like you and I guess other people because sometimes the issues that I'm confronting with my friends, and I appreciate what you said, they'll get their own lesson, is they're all acting out these are often acting out their merry-go-rounds of their negative ego. And it's so hard to even talk. I tried with Danielle, who, finally just said, I love you so much, but I can't listen to this merry-go-round anymore. It's getting me confused to be enmeshed. So I'm trying to show you all the oasis. I'm going to try to walk. But anyway, I think that is encouraging. And I've said it to other few people, just trying to make it with humorous, because they're stuck in so many strange things. And I guess that's what you mean when the poisons come in. It's just, I used to be kind of a compulsive scanner, as you know, and then helper. So on a completely separate subject, because I know you mentioned last week about me and my travels, is that this week at the Little Thrift Shop, a beautiful kind of Maxfield Parrish type painting of Mount Shasta appeared, and I bought it. There it is above my refrigerator in my little humble, trying to find it, a casita. Step back. Because there, and I put a orb in front of it because, it was never a problem to keep moving all those times. It's all happening so fast on the earth, through the earth chakras. It's an intense pulsing, and I just have to slow down sometimes to integrate the pulsing. I think I can do it this way to show you the oasis. It's glistening. Yeah, and it's very radical. Some nights it's 25, some days it's 75. And I'm from uptown New Orleans, so the whole thing is like a big adventure of how to live like this. So I do find it's very healing, and just try to be kind and loving to my friends who, and say, your confusion is affecting me. I don't want to live in that confusion, but I'm praying for you. So I think that's about all I have to share. But it's very wonderful, actually, but it is overwhelming at times. Yeah, thank you, Pierre. God bless you.
Thank you, Kate. Thank you. The thing with the poison, the 5 poison I just mentioned, and the relationship that we have to have with them, is that because there's a higher octave, which is the poison, and there's an upper octave, which is the wisdom. Most human beings on the planet right now are being agitated, and the archons are inflating whatever bits of pride that you have to a maximum. This is why I cannot have conversation. Whereas before I can approach somebody and I say, I wonder if you consider perceiving it in a different light. I can't have these conversations anymore. Every time I try to approach people before, they attack me. So I'm not having this. It's a waste of my time. I'm not having this conversation anymore. It's a waste of time. Because the true enemy, the archons, are embedded in them, and it's inflating their feelings and their emotion. And this is why they believe, again, the sin of ignorance, they absolutely convinced that they have the right information. And that the archons have successfully implanted false beliefs and all these false claims into their consciousness. And they believe that they are the path to the new earth, they have it. And they're going to go out there into the world and violently create it and install it. There's nothing about that path of violence and destruction that is enlightened. And if anybody is telling me that this is the path to the new earth, and it's going to be a bloodbath, and it's going to be, this is not the new earth that I want to go into. It's not for me. My bus is a different bus. So when I hear a lot of people talking about this, and people you would not believe, people whose character you thought you knew, and they're, let's all get up and go out there and protest. And it's not just a question of civil disobedience and protest, but it's about violence, complete chaos and destruction, and this is what they're promoting. And I'm looking at them thinking that I knew their character. I'm like, well, where was the light? And it's because the Haruku, the dark aspect of the Dakini, is being inflated by the archons, and thus you have now a goulash of the worst kind, a combination of all these different spices that don't belong together. And there is no, and if they were simply in prayer and simply projected themselves in humility and realized that I don't know, I don't have all the answers. I've done a couple of research. All of these people, these events that are happening, whether it is solar flare, earthquake, or all of these things, they're past my pay grade. I may think that I have the information right now. I guarantee you by tomorrow or 3 days from now, a week from now, I'm going to be confused. And when that confusion arises, when I'm in a state of doubt, I'm beginning to think maybe what I thought before was not correct, maybe something, that is a healthy state. Every time you're in doubt and you're confused, you're in intermediary state. This is a bardo. Every time there is a bardo, there is an opportunity to find enlightenment, to get insight into something. If you can humble yourself to allow the doubt and this to give you wisdom. Most people, what they do is that when this period of doubt or cognitive dissonance incidents happen, where they believe in something and some of the information is coming in to make them feel differently, instead of trying to explore that maybe I was wrong and try to examine, they don't do this. They try to create a bypass to still prove that their belief system, their current belief system, is true. They find a rationalization, an even more crazy idea or concept to put on top of it. So I don't know what's going to happen to the rest of the world. I can only bring information to the degree that I'm aware of what I'm aware of. And I have shared with you enough. And of course, the part that's probably the scariest part for many people right now that are not talking about it is still the potential war that exists between Russia and Ukraine, because it has the potential to create another world war. And in the landscape of the prediction, if you go back over the prediction that I published in December, you will see that war was one of the things that was in there. And again, all of these things are so big that they are, if you look at the description, the symbolic description in the Tibetan Book of the Dead of the benevolent deities, that's what we're experiencing collectively. The war, the big things. I have friends of mine who are now on business owners in places around Europe that are in shutdown and where right now their business is suffering. Because of course, when everything is in shutdown, you can't, there's a lot of things that you can't do. You can't have clients, people are afraid. It's terrifying. But the way forward is to go back to the prayer, go back to try to find the wisdom, and maybe change and transform what you're doing, because the answer to your current predicament, mine and yours, as it relates to all of these events that are about to happen, exists in us humbling and praying and asking for mercy and surrendering the fears that we have about this event into the blessed field. And the moment you begin to do this, it shifts, because not only are you emotionally in a calm state, but it also provides you with the answer in your daily life, what you need to do right now to change your current condition. It will come to you in the most miraculous and impossible ways. Any other comments or questions?
Priya, when you're talking this evening, for some reason, it seems like I'm going in and out of the conversation, like I might like fall into like a semi kind of a sleep or something, and then I'll hear a word or something that'll bring me, like back into it, and I was getting this feeling of you have to be very fluid, in whatever your feelings, are, and knowing that I don't know why Emma came to my mind, but she was so afraid of listening to you talk about, the book of the Tibetan Book of the Dead.
Yep.
It was something about, she felt like you was trying to change her core beliefs.
Yep.
And
Emma.
and then all of a sudden it said to me that it's not about that. You can't hold to a thing where you say, well, I'm a this, and then you can't hear a truth from some other source. Like if you believe the Holy Spirit will speak to you and bring you elevation, and whatever religion you hold yourself to, why don't you believe that the Holy Spirit can also speak to someone else who has a different, set of beliefs and bring out the truth in that, that teaching? Because the truth is very, very fluid. It's not something that you can say it's a shoe, not a boot, or it's you can't just make these definite things. You have to stay open to receive the expansion from wherever it comes from, and be okay to sort of blend, these understandings without putting, such a hard stamp, on it. Well, I'm a Christian, so I'm not going to hear anything from, I'm not going to hear anything from the Veda. I'm not going to hear anything from the Jewish tradition. I'm not going to hear. If you stay like that, you stay in that kind of sense of those very, very resistant stages. You don't allow for your own growth. I don't know if I'm explaining it, the way that I'm feeling it, but I just feel that the Holy Spirit is very fluid.
Mm-hmm.
And when you are receiving, you can't stamp another type of dogma or something else on top of it, and only say, if you get it this way, then that's the only way you get that. You're going to accept that truth.
Mm-hmm.
And I just feel like, we're going to have to stay that way, flow, stay in that flow, and go with it, because you'll find yourself resisting so much that you get lost. You get lost in the fight.
Mm-hmm.
You get tired, of trying to swim upstream.
Mm-hmm.
You would have to stay in that surrendered, kind of a place where you can allow that flow, to come through. And I kind of understand how you. I just feel like, just like resting. I don't even know how to explain it to you. I just don't feel like trying to go and do something. I just feel like just rest in this, and and stay with it. That's, and I heard that when you said that word transformation, you said that word too. That word, it really picked up something in me. So that was my thought.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yes, Celie, the idea that that universal truth is not exclusive to a religion, and
Right.
and the Holy Spirit being a universal principle, it will speak through humanity and beyond.
Yes. That's beautifully put. Yes. Thank you. I got. Thank you. I take
Yeah,
that. Thank you.
yeah. So this idea of it's only in my religion and my beliefs. You're being this is small mind. This is again the this is again one of the poison. It's ignorance. It's ignorance.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It's ignorance and delusion. So
Right.
that and then the last poison, which is jealousy and doubt. For me, the doubt is actually a good thing, because when I am in those moments where I'm of two minds and I feel confused, is it that or is it the other? What am I supposed to do? Blah blah blah. Although it's a torturous thing for me, but it's the baldo. It's the opportunity for me, if I sit with it very quietly, one of the voices is the right choice.
Mm-hmm.
So if I sit quietly with it and query it, the right choice will show up. The one that's triggering the most fear is the incorrect choice. So I need to figure out what's triggering the most fear and take that and bring it into the blessed field. And once I surrender and let go of it, certainly transcendence shows up, because the moment it enters the emptiness, it becomes formless and you see things for what they really are. And the true answer to your physical predicament in this world shows up, and you know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a detailed map. I have general outline, as you know, in terms of event, what's going to happen. So I don't have a detailed map how the touchdowns are going to happen, but I have a general outline, and I know it's going to happen very rapidly, and we just have to buckle up and we have to pray. We have to pray and ask for mercy. Ask for mercy. Ask your friends to pray. The only thing I can tell anybody right now, pray and ask for mercy.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else? Any other questions or comments?
I'm gonna get up and get something, because it was so beautiful. And when you said just pray, it's like it's hard for you sometimes to articulate things, when you're trying to stay in a state. And so I said, all of a sudden, it just clicked into me. Now I know why they do these mantras, and because if you put yourself into a certain rhythm, I have a young friend that she uh, always loved to listen, to the Buddhist teachings, but she couldn't get an interpretation of the Om Mani Padme Om, and so she stopped saying it. And so when you had brought that back to our attention the other day, it's with the Kuan Yin mantra, I got this interpretation. I tell you, Spirit is so beautiful. And it says, Om purifies ego. Ma purifies jealousy. Ni purifies passion. Pad purifies ignorance. Me purifies greed. Hum purifies hatred. So if you're saying this, you don't have to intellectually reinterpret this. If you could just remember to say this mantra, And I thought, my goodness, that's brilliant. So I said, now I know why they did that.
Mhm.
Because it's certainly easier for me to teach you to internalize and to repeat a mantra, knowing that the sound, because the whole universe was created by sound,
Mhm.
and give you this. And in saying this, and when you were talking about the prayer beads, I can't remember what I was looking at, because I tell you, things sort of like flow together sometimes for me. And I said, that's why this was given to you this way. So I just thank Kuan Yin for the mantra
Mhm.
and for the million, I don't even know how many thousands of years it's been said. So how much energy is coalesced around these sounds? And just like they tell you the name of Jesus, how much, you're not calling Jesus the man, you're calling the Christ, the energy that's coalesced around that name. So I just say thank you.
Yeah. And the translation, the literal translation from Sanskrit, Om Om, hail be the flower or the jewel of the lotus. Because the jewel of the lotus is actually the Bodhisattva, Kuan Yin.
Yes, yes.
So you're calling upon her mercy and her holy name.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And I think Margie sent me some kind of game in the computer, and it said your name means this or something. And I said, I'm gonna play this game. I put this thing and say, I want to know what my name means, and it came up Lotus.
Oh, beautiful.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
I just sat there and I laughed. I said, okay, I don't know what else it comes on there, because I don't know if you can manipulate these things. I said, but certainly the computer doesn't know what I'm studying or thinking about. So, and this was something random, that she sent, and I thought it was so beautiful. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Just a joke, Celia. The Holy Spirit is in the computer.
Yes,
Just a
I
joke. Yeah.
So, we can find our own ways to recognize when spirit is giving you something. It's like Hamachi used to call all the time a pearl. She said, "I'm going to give you a pearl. Give you a pearl." And she said, "Don't." And she said, just like the Bible said, "Don't cast your pearls in front of the swine, because they're not going to receive and see the value of it. It's going to stomp it into the ground, into the mud." So when you say you can't talk to certain people, you can't, because what you have are pearls. If the person that's receiving it will perceive it as such. Other than that, it's just you're just giving words and people just throw them aside. And my son shared something with me today that he's been going through a lot, and the condition that he has, it's a permanent condition that he will have to learn how to live within what the gradual stabilization or improvements that his heart is making. And so he had no income. He has no income. So he called me today because he told me he was working. He was using his car like a Uber. Yeah, I think that's what they call it, a Lyft or something like that.
Yep.
And so he said he got a call from someone, and he said, "Ma, I had to pull." That's what I said. Remember the word you said, Pierre, was the miraculous. That's what it was. He said, "Ma, I got a miracle." I said, "What happened?" He said, "Ma," he said, "things have been so terrible." He said, "I didn't want to even tell you how much in the negative, I am." He said, "Because somebody just give me, a little bit." He said, "That just does bring me out of the negative balances, the overdraft." So I said, "Okay," because he doesn't, he doesn't ask me for anything. So I just said, "Okay, well, what happened?" He said, "Ma," he said, I hollered out in prayer. He said, God, help me. God, help me. He said, I don't know what else to do. I don't know what else to do. And he got a call from someone. He said, I've been thinking about you, man, and I want to know if you're all right. Do you need any money? And he said, oh, man, I always need money. He said, but I want to send you something. So he said, okay. He didn't ask him for any amount. He said, because if you give him $10, he'd be $10 richer than he was a minute ago. So the guy said, he says, you have a Cash App? And now I don't even know how to use all these things. So that's what I'm saying. I know you all know what they are. So he said, yeah. So he said, okay. Said, let me send you something. So Amaso said he pulled his car over to the side. He said, he looked at this thing. He said, he looked at it again. He said, that can't be. And he called, the guy back. He said, hey man, this thing says 1K. And the guy said, yeah. He said, I just wanted to send you a little something.
Here you go.
1K. 1K.
Mm.
Amaso said, Ma, that was a miracle.
Mm.
That was the answer to my prayer. He said, I didn't know anything else I could do but to call out. And well, who could respond but the universe? The universe is, and for what God does for man, it does through man.
Yep.
He didn't drop it out of the sky and drop a bomb on his car. He dropped it into somebody else's heart.
Yep.
Who's open to do this. I just want to say those words, miracle, expect a miracle.
As long as you're praying, you got the power.
That's right.
That's the only way for you to find safe passage. You have to pray. That's the point.
Right.
That's exactly
That's
it.
it.
If you're not praying, you're in deep doo-doo.
Well, hey.
Anyway, let's take a 5 minute. On that note, let's take a 5-minute break. Bathroom break, water break, 5 minutes, okay?
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Celia.
You're welcome.
Take a very deep and slow breath. And as you inhale and exhale deeply and slowly, allow the universal life force that permeates everything to enter into your lives. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And let your soul and your awareness drop in the middle of your chest. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Let your mind and your heart sync with each other. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And realize that you can perceive 360 degrees. Become aware of any of the 5 poisons that may be activated in you. Locate where in your body you may be experiencing greed or craving. Whether the craving is for material goods or unhealthy emotional state, like addictive behaviors. Now take a very deep breath from the core of the earth and let this breath move through the bottom of your feet, passing through you, dislodging all of this craving and unhealthy and toxic desires and addictions, and release them all into source. Become aware of the way in which the second poison, hatred, ill will, aversion, resentment, and anger may show up in you. Where is this located in your body? Take a deep breath from the core of the earth and let this breath move through the bottom of your feet, passing through you, exiting outside of your head and dislodging this hatred, anger, and ill will and aversion, and releasing all of it completely into source. Let go. Let go of all of it. Become aware of the way in which you may have in you ignorance and delusion, false beliefs, false knowledge, incomplete knowing, half truth. Where is this located in your body? Take a deep breath from the core of the earth and let this breath move through the bottom of your feet, passing through you, dislodging all this ignorance, delusion, and half-truth, and let it all exit outside of your head as you exhale it out completely and release it into source. Become aware of the way in which the pride, arrogance, conceit, and self-importance may exist in you. Where is this located in your body? Take a very deep breath from the core of the earth and let this breath move through the bottom of your feet, passing through you, dislodging this pride, arrogance, and conceit, and let it all exit outside of your head and be released completely and thoroughly into source. Become aware of the way in which jealousy and envy may show up in you. Where is this located in your body? Take a very deep breath from the core of the earth and let this breath move through the bottom of your feet, dislodging this jealousy and this envy, and let it all exit outside of your head and be released completely into source. Surrender all of it. Let it all go. It is not your responsibility to fix, repair, or do anything. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. Lord, help me find liberation. On the dangerous path of transition in Bardo into the new earth, help me find your peace, serenity, and neutrality. I am besieged by visceral, loud, and overwhelming fear reactions to external circumstances. Show me how to let them go. I feel afraid, vulnerable, and alone. I humbly surrender all of these burdens and this empowerment into you. It is not my responsibility to fix, do, or control anything. Lead me into your rest and stillness. For I am but a body of unconscious tendencies in your emptiness. Empty me out of all identities, desires, and attachments. Help me find the emerging and endless gifts knowing, awareness that occupies your continents. The incomprehensible, infinite, and co-creative light and luminosity that exist in you. Help me find safe passage into the blessings of the new earth. I release all attachments, fears, and control. And I completely surrender into the great emptiness and endless luminosity. Emancipate me into a complete merger with you. Help me find liberation. And may the peace, serenity, and freedom that I know pass on to everyone in my circle of influence. Hosanna into the highest. Hosanna into the highest. Hosanna into the highest. Take a very deep and slow breath. And whenever you feel ready, you can open your eyes. How you all feeling?
Thank you. Thank you, Pierre.
You're welcome, Janice. You're welcome.
Thank you, Pierre.
You're welcome, Ursula.
Thank you, Pierre.
You're welcome. Welcome, Audrey.
Thank you, Pierre.
Welcome, Bobby. Welcome, everyone. Thank you. Thank you. Sending you all my love. I'm looking at the time. I don't want to keep you. Many blessings to the rest of your day. Deep love. Please subscribe to the video if you're watching this on YouTube. Like this video to increase our algorithm. Share this with your friends. To all my Patreon subscribers, I want to thank you for joining us. Sending you all deep love, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Thank you all. Good
Good
night.
night. Good night.
Bye, everybody. Good night.
Good night.